Okay, welcome everybody online and in the audience. Today is November 28th. This is a special meeting of the Central District Health. At this time, I'd like to take roll call. Mandy County, Dr. Cole. Dr. Cole, are you on? Okay, Dr. Furch. Here. And Dr. Young.
Here.
From Elmore County, Betty Ann, are you on?
I'm here.
And who else? Oh, yeah, Crystal.
I'm here.
You're here. And Boise County, Clay, are you on? Okay, so we have a quorum, don't we? And then myself from Valley County. That's all you need for that?
Yep, that's all I need.
Okay, this time, everyone's had a chance to look at the agenda. If there's not any addition or corrections, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. This is Betty Ann.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Moved by Betty Ann, second by Jane. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. At this time, I would like to go into an executive session for Idaho Code 74-2061B, which deals with employee evaluation and disciplining. At this time, I would entertain that motion. And we have two executives, 2061F, which is also to communicate with legal.
So also to deal with litigation.
Right. So someone make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
I
This is Betty
moved
Ann.
to second. Moved to second to go into executive session for Idaho Code 74-2061F and 2061B. All in favor by roll call, please. See, Dr. Furch.
Yes.
Dr. Young.
Aye.
Betty Ann.
Aye. Jane Young, aye.
Yeah, you need to state your name and then say aye, please. Crystal.
And Elmore County, aye.
Okay, Crystal voted aye. Clay's not here. In Valley County, I'll vote aye as well. So at this time, it being 8:32, we will go into an executive session. And at this time, I'm going to have to ask everyone that's not a board member to please leave the room. And we will go into executive. If we need you back, we'll certainly call you back. Okay? Okay, we're live now. Thanks, Dustin. Okay, welcome back, folks. We are out of executive at actually 9:30. So at this time, we're going to move on down our agenda and have a discussion and decision on, yeah, come on, there's some goals that we would like to do. But before I do that, I'm going to ask our district director to kind of give us his 2 cents worth on the issue that,
And why we're doing this.
and why we're doing this.
So, yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So we had the Idaho Statesman article that was written about CDH being a toxic work environment, and reached out to Mike, who we work closely with on all personnel matters. Some of this obviously involves personnel matters. Asked Mike who he would recommend that we use to come in to do an independent evaluation, assessment, inquiry of what's going on at Central District Health, so that it would be unbiased and that we would receive findings and recommendations from their assessment on the culture, the health of the organization, any issues we may have with our policies or procedures when it comes to personnel matters, and that they would conduct that assessment and provide that report to be presented to the board. And then whatever steps might be necessary, we would take after that. So that's the gist of it. And why we met with Pat and Patty to have the conversation, to have them put together a proposal for the board to consider today and allow us to proceed if you choose to use Calyx Weaver.
Okay, any questions for Russ? Any questions for Calyx and Weaver, Patty?
I would like to know, experience-wise, what your guys' backgrounds are.
Well, I will start. I'm Patty Perkins, and I'm the owner of Calyx Weaver. I have owned Calyx Weaver since 2016 and have been in human resources in and around since the mid-70s. Almost hate to say that. Most of my background has been in the banking industry, and I was in and out of human resources positions during that time. I spent 10 years with T-Mobile between 2004 and 2013 as a regional HR director for T-Mobile, and then spent a couple of years with the city of Meridian before purchasing Weaver and Associates, which had been in existence since
Like 12 years, I think.
yes, at that time.
Yeah.
So been around a long time. And Candy Weaver was the former principal, and worked in Calyx Weaver with Pat, and we have other consultants that work with us. Since that time, in 2020, I had a very rare opportunity to be asked to go to work for the governor. And so in my day job, I run the Department of Finance for the state. So I don't work full-time, obviously, in Calyx Weaver, but I have vacation. And I'll be using vacation hours for this meeting and that kind of stuff. So it gives me some flexibility to take on some assignments. Pat and I have known each other for, 15, 20 years, something
Something like that.
something in that order. Our work revolves around workplace issues and providing solutions and trying to diagnose what's going on in an organization. And it doesn't always have to be a dramatic kind of situation, but we often get called in to do various culture assessments, which is what I would term what we're talking about here. We have done a large number of those, both in the private sector and in the public sector. Because very large organizations tend to have full HR teams that do this, we tend to spend most of our time in smaller agencies or quasi-political, subdivision type organizations in the public sector. The state was well aware of my business, and it continues to be aware that I have it. And I just don't do any work for the state unless it's just me and my job doing that for the state. So I don't charge, So I make sure we don't have a conflict of interest there. How about you?
So I haven't been in HR as long as you have.
You're not as old as I am.
Oh, yeah, we're not that far. So I did start probably in the HR Royalman. It was more in benefits, but that was in the late 90s in banking. So I was at a bank at the time. I have been since then in HR, more the generalist, the last, I don't know how many years. But I've worked for a bank. I've worked for small companies. I was a consultant for benefits for a few years, probably 8. I've been in manufacturing. I've been in college. I've been in county. I've been all different types of industries. Been a consultant since 2012. Took time off for the last 6 years or 7 to take on a full-time role. And I was with Valley County as their HR director most recently. So I retired in June. And so, so I'm retired, but I love helping people. I love this kind of thing. One of the things that if I were to say that, brag upon myself, is that I have left every place that I've been in better than where it was before. And that is just through relationships, and that's through doing the research into why things are not working the way that they should be, and then addressing those problems, which is really what we are looking to do to help CDH, is look at, what is the root of the concern here? What is the culture? What are people feeling? Those types of things. And then we can get to the root of the issue and help CDH move forward. So that is really, I feel, one of my strengths.
Well, and I'm really looking forward to have you guys, both of you, whoever, go through our policies. Because to me, a lot of the issues in HR are policy-driven issues. Whether it's a policy of having 2 people at a termination, or, all those kind of aspects that, and this is a quite large organization. If you think about it, I think there's 140 employees, somewhere around there. So it's kind of a constant issue all the time. And that's my big desire, is to see what we've got to do to change policy so we don't end up in this situation again. I want to do what's right for all of our employees, even those that are disgruntled. We've got to figure out a way to make them less disgruntled. And fortunately, with my history with Pat, I know she can have that. And she's really, really done an outstanding job for us. We miss her, but I think she's very unbiased and very willing to get into the mud if she has to. And looking forward to it. Anyone else have questions?
What then is your position with the company? You're the owner. What is your title, or what is your expertise within the organization?
I'm a senior HR advisor, but I'm a consultant. So I'm an independent consultant that works with Calyx Weaver.
Okay. And so it sounds like you've worked with a range of organizations. What is the largest organization? If this is 140 employees.
Trying to think. 100. Well, I know that we've. They were 20, 30.
So Valley County is about the same size. if that helps. It's, when I left, we were right around 140.
Yeah, I'm trying to quickly run through a number of the clients there. We've worked with some that were 150, 200. I have a,
So that's about the ballpark
Yeah.
that you've worked. Is it predominantly these kinds of investigations, or do you work with organizations to improve business efficiencies and things like that? Or are we more focused in just these cultural?
well, I would say that that's probably the nexus for the things that we do. We do look for business efficiencies. We both have a broad business background, and I can certainly, and my staff at the state will tell you that I'm always looking for ways to do things faster and better. The state, which sometimes is not an easy thing. But it usually is around so yes, we do look at process improvement, but that is not our main focus. Our main focus is really how do you get the people to work better in the organization? And so it can end up with process improvements, but the driver is really around the people, getting the people to work better.
And
So will you guys also look at the documentation that we have on employees to make sure that we're doing that correctly? Because that's where most of us have fallen behind, is that documentation part. And I had an attorney explain to me, imagine you being the judge, all you have is what's on paper. That's all you can look at. And that really changed my whole perspective about a lot of this stuff. Yep.
well, I'm going to follow up on some of the financial aspects of this. I mean, obviously, if you're running the Department of Finance and overseeing the disposition of lots of taxpayer money,
Actually, that isn't what we do.
well,
We are
you're the payer.
we are the regulatory body for banks and credit unions
Oh,
and financial
okay.
services. DFM, Department of Financial Management, does what
Yes.
you're talking
Okay,
about. Just
all right.
to clarify.
Sorry for my
No,
confusion.
no.
But,
Okay.
but we're
Everybody
all,
does it.
still dealing with taxpayer resources and stuff. What kinds of internal operations do you have to be able to, I guess, manage, the ultimate cost to this organization so that, we're.
Well, there's
budgetary
a
fiscally.
couple of things that we would do. We have an hourly rate, which is discounted for the public sector. So this same work would be $25 an hour or more for a private sector company. But we also we try to define the project in a way that we can anticipate the cost. And we have worked with a not to exceed X amount. And we are very careful about that so that we don't overcharge or we don't get beyond a budget that somebody is willing to has. Believe me, we totally understand all of that. And so we try to be very careful. So we come to an agreed upon maximum amount, just so that everybody feels protected. And if you choose to do that, or there's a couple of different ways that we can structure the financial arrangements. The hourly rate for the work that we do is $150 an hour. So, and it sounds like a lot, but it's pretty intense work, and it requires us to spend a lot of, it covers all of the things that we do. We don't charge for travel time and that kind of thing. So that's just work. That's the work time.
And that's based on the culture assessment. If we go in and we do training or do something else as a result that that's identified as a concern, that would be a different rate.
Yeah, and that would be, we'd say, we do this for X amount of dollars. You know, so a training program.
So if we were to come out with a motion to say, with the cap of $25,000, not that that's the cap, but if you hit that point and need more, would you come back to us and request?
Before we hit that point, we would tell you, here's what we're
Okay,
running up against, and this is what we think is coming, or we could stop here, whatever works. So we really do try to watch that. Give you plenty of options so that it's just not dumping money into a black hole.
What do you anticipate a timeline for something like that?
You know, unfortunately, when you are dealing with people, nothing is very fast.
And we're going into the holiday.
And we're going into the holidays. So, you know, I think realistically, you're not going to get a whole lot done in the month of December. I have sessions starting in January. So, but Pat is going to be the lead on this for that reason. And we have one other senior level consultant that may be available. We have not brought her in. But she had been the HR director for Idaho Housing and Finance for about 30 years. She's fabulous and she does wonderful, wonderful work. And if we need her to speed things up and get things moving, we can bring a third person in. But we think that Pat and I can handle the bulk of this, which is why we thought we would start with just the two of us. But so that didn't really answer your question. And some of the length of time will depend on what we find. But I think what we could see is that, you know, we can come up with a suitable assessment tool or resource or work off of things that you have already done, because I know that you have a culture assessment that's pretty new.
And that was gonna be my next question.
Yeah.
Are they gonna have access to that information if we choose to?
sure. Yeah, it's all public.
Yes, so we will provide them all policies or culture assessments that we've done, including the one that you all saw.
That's why this is surprising to me, because we have that documentation. and
Right.
This, and we're waiting. Two separate.
Right, and you know, we want to make sure that this is the work that we do is seen as something that's positive and helpful. So we want to, you know, so I think looking at it in terms of that broader cultural picture is a good way to think about it.
And you know, that's something that we should probably put on December's agenda maybe is, for us to kind of talk about public relations. Here, you know, see if we can maybe bump that up a little bit, get some better word out there, so to speak. I don't, you know, if the public is aware of the survey, those are things like that that we can promote as a board. We need to discuss, so.
One of the things that, as we were learning about, you know, everything that's gone on, we do not talk about our work externally. We realize that this is public, but we won't participate in any kind of press coverage or anything. That is just not for us to do. It's for you to do. And so, and that's important, not only for that reason, but it's also doubly important because I don't want my name, you know, out there because I have this other role with the state. So, you know, it gets kind of funny, but that's, so Pat will be the primary individual to probably do a lot of the conversation here. And, you know, that's in a public forum.
And I know we're meeting here, I think it's next week,
December 15th.
15th, and it's gonna be too soon, but our next available time that we could get with them is in February at our first meeting next year. And I think that would be probably, hopefully, plenty of time and we could get them on the agenda to come back in an executive and they can maybe give us an update or where we are on that. that whole investigation. Gives them plenty of time.
Interested in your definition of culture.
That is such a hard thing to define, but really it is the working environment that people are in. It's the best way to describe it, because you can have a toxic work environment, and that can be the culture. Or you can have a work environment where people are collaborative, they're working together as a team, and so it becomes a team culture. So it's a difficult thing to really put your finger on, but it is really the working of the environment, the working environment of the organization.
I've heard it described as the water in the fishbowl. It's there, you can see it, but you can't see it. And so it's kind of, and if you can really see it, maybe it's not a good culture kind of thing.
It's green water.
But, it's just, it's what you live in, what you work in. And so it's kind of a fun visual, I think.
Yeah, that's
So how do we measure progress then, so that we know how we're going, where we are to where we want to be?
That's a good question. I think the survey did a lot towards that. And usually when the surveys are anonymous, you get true answers. The challenge, however, with surveys is that not everybody may participate. And so you could have people that did not participate, but they're unhappy. And so what this will come up with is, hopefully, if they'll talk to us, right? But the idea is that we can pull out some of those people that were unhappy and find out what's going on and how they're feeling and what they're feeling. And so how do we measure that? It is through how those people that didn't participate in this other survey, how they're feeling. And if there's a problem there, then we can address it. If they don't, if everybody says, oh, it's great here, there's no, we don't have any concerns, all right, well, we'll go on. So that would be the measure that nobody's complaining.
But then you have to look at, some of this other
Yes.
stuff that's going on. And, it's that there's, the possibilities are wide open in terms of why that's all occurring. And what we're going to try to get to is identifying what is at the root cause of, and maybe it's just a small group. Hopefully that's what we're dealing with. It's just a small group and not a real widespread series of concerns, which is what the data that you already have seen would have told you, that things look pretty good. So this is kind of a surprise. So trying to get at that, people are not predictable, as you know. And so you can put systems in place that work for most everybody, and yet you'll still have a few outliers. So we're just going to try to, and if you know that's what it is, you can come up with ways to address that.
I know in the county's side of it, when we were going through this issue 6, 7, 8 years ago, Pat came in and we started what we call a coaching session. And that's the biggest difference between a county and this organization is I can't go and wander around and meet everybody. And that may be something that we may want to think about as a board down the road, is let's invite a different department in at every meeting. Sit down and talk to these people. What do you do? What's your issues? And listen to them, because most people just want to be heard. And I think that changes a lot of culture when all of a sudden you're face to face with board members. I think that's something that's really helped us out a lot. Well, just some ideas, and Pat's really good at that.
She is.
Okay, any more questions? Betty Ann, do you have anything?
No, thank you, Pat and Patty, I guess. And
Yep.
we look forward to moving forward, I guess I should say.
Okay, if there's no other questions, then, I guess we'll move on down to the action item, which is to decide whether or not we want to hire these folks to do this investigation, and how much money do you want to commit towards it?
Step out, or is this?
Do you guys have an estimate on the time, like how many hours?
Well, I think we didn't have a preliminary amount at this point. But my guess is,
But the challenge, I think.
because we don't know what we don't
Yeah,
know.
Precisely, and that's the challenge. We don't know how many people we're going to interview at this point. Which, and interviews can take anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour and a half. I mean, so it is very difficult in this type of a situation to determine how many hours it would take. I would say, I mean, I don't know, 20,000-ish, would that be?
That's kind of where I was
Yeah.
landing. And just based
Yeah.
on the hours that,
25,000 gets 133 hours.
And I would be surprised if it took that long, but it could.
yeah, I wouldn't think
If we
it
did
would.
100 hours and 150, that'd be 15 grand, so I'm assuming somewhere.
I was thinking between 15 and
Yeah.
20. That's kind of what was
So
in my
we were
head.
on the same break.
That's good.
Yeah.
See,
Betty Ann, do you have any thoughts?
Actually, the only thought I had right now, El, was, is this a decision that the board needs to make today, since our regular board meeting is just in a little over 2 weeks?
Personally, I feel like we need to move forward today. I don't want to delay this anymore because we're just going to keep getting beat up in the papers if we don't.
Right. I'm fine with that.
Okay. So. And somebody want to make a motion to say, offer a contract up to $20,000, and then if we hit that point, we can come back and revisit it in the February meeting. Something like that, just throwing out ideas.
I can make a motion to move forward with the contract at the maximum of 20,000.
To
I will
Helix
second.
and Weaver.
Into Helix and Weaver.
And we got, was that a second? And we got a motion and a second to authorize up to a $20,000 expenditure to Helix and Weaver for the investigation into our HR issues. Any more discussion? Be honest, be just, and fear not. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. And I'm assuming you guys they need a $2,000 start check. Can we do that? Do we need that part of the motion too?
We'll figure out,
We'll
make
figure it
the
out.
arrangements under the,
And then you guys have an actual contract?
Yes.
we do. And we can send another copy of that over, but I didn't know if you all had a contract that you use that often the public sector
We do.
folks do. So,
we'll work it out
Yeah.
after this meeting. We just needed the authority given to us by the board, or we'll work out the contractual arrangement under the provisions that the board included in the motion.
We have the scope of work, we would still need the contract.
Right.
Okay?
I'm going to leave some very brief information on us. I can make more packets, but I wasn't sure how many were going to be here. Just some information in our business cards. So
Do you still have the same cell?
You know how to get hold of it.
Hey, is there any other business that we needed to discuss today at this meeting? Mike, you're all good?
Good.
Any end, nothing else to talk about today?
I'm good.
Okay, then I'm gonna go ahead and adjourn this meeting. Thank you all very much for coming and thank you for your help in assisting this,
Thank you.
on this, and we'll see where
Yes,
this fish swims.
It's clean with water.